All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the GFW Map Update Webinar. I'm Alice Gottesman, GFW's Junior User Outreach Specialist. During this webinar, we'll be guiding you through how you can use the GFW map. After the demo, there will be plenty of time for questions, and if you have a question during the demo, please type it into the Q&A section on Zoom, and we'll get to it after the demo. If you have any issues hearing, please send a message on the chat and we'll do our best to help. I'd like to introduce Kai Kresick and Teresa Schofield. Kai is our Junior Data Specialist. She works to streamline and manage the process for updating and incorporating data into the GFW platform and tools. She'll be answering any data-related questions at the end of the demo. Teresa is our Junior Product Specialist. She works to improve the platform by evaluating user needs, developing plans for new features, and implementing changes. She'll lead the demo and take platform-related questions at the end. So now I'll pass it to Teresa to start the demo off.
Hey everybody, as Alice said, welcome to our webinar on updates for the GFW map. We're happy to have you here. For previous users, you may be familiar with much of what you'll see today, and for new users, welcome. We really hope this is a helpful guide to you, however you use GFW. GFW offers an integrated, openly accessible suite of tools designed to enable experts and non-experts alike to access information about forest change and mobilize action. We're constantly testing, reassessing, and improving the site. In November of 2018, last year, we made lots of changes to the way the map looks to make it more user-friendly. And today, we'll go over how to use the map and where new tools can be found and demonstrate how they might be used. I'm going to go ahead and head to the site. Before we get started, I just want to visit the home page and point out that at the top right, there's a language changer for native speakers of languages besides English. And now let's head to the map, as that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Welcome to the Global Forest Watch map. The map lets you visually explore the world's forests and how they are changing by providing access to over 150 datasets, satellite imagery, basic analysis tools, and ways to share specific map views. A quick overview. On the left, there are categories of available data sets. You can also search for data in the bottom left using the search tool. The legend shows which data sets are currently activated, and the analysis tab displays analysis results, which we'll demonstrate in a moment. In the lower right-hand corner, you'll find basic map tools like zoom, base maps, lat-long coordinates, as well as satellite imagery tools for sharing map views and access to help materials. Let's look at some specific examples of ways that you can make the most of the map and zoom into Brazil. One common question users come to Global Forest Watch with is, how much forest or forest loss is there in country X? In this case, Brazil. The map can provide a snapshot of forest and forest change in any given area, including countries and subnational areas. If I click on Brazil and then click on Analyze, I can see basic information about forest in Brazil, and I'll need to scroll down actually to see all of the analysis information. These three default data sets, which come from Landsat satellite imagery analyzed by the University of Maryland, show tree cover loss, and tree cover gain. Details about each data set, including geographic coverage, update frequencies, dates, limitations, and underlying methods, are in the info window. But first, I'd like to specifically touch on a few technical details that are important to understanding how to use these data. Satellite imagery doesn't differentiate types of tree cover. Thus, tree cover includes both natural and plantation forest. Similarly, satellite imagery doesn't indicate the cause of tree cover loss. Loss might be due to natural events like flooding or human activities like clear cutting to plant soy. This is why we use the term tree cover loss instead of deforestation. While we do have loss and gain layers, we cannot use them to calculate net forest change. This is because of variance in methodology and difference in date coverage. Briefly, I want to highlight ways to customize analysis results. If I go back to the legend, I can customize the date range for analysis. I can also adjust the canopy density to match a country's definition of forest. Most countries define forest as areas that are at least 30% covered by trees, and that's what we'll use for the purposes of this webinar. Now, people frequently want to know the climate impact of forest loss in a country. If we go to the climate menu on the left and turn on the biomass loss layer, we see the emissions from tree cover loss appear in the analysis window. If we exit out of this analysis and zoom in, I'll go back to the analysis tab and click the back button by Brazil, and then zoom in. We can see similar analyses for subnational areas within Brazil, like here in Mato Grosso. You can link to the dashboard to view more statistics like these for any country or subnational area, down to the district level. Let's exit out of this analysis and go to another country in South America, Peru. I'm going to search for Laredo in Peru, which is the next area we're going to look at. You can use the search tool here at the bottom left to search for data and geographic locations or coordinates. If I click the dropdown, I'm given the option to choose between those, as well as general locations. So I'll go ahead and type in Laredo. I'll select Laredo, and the map will automatically bring me to it. We can see here that since 2001, tree cover loss in Laredo has been on the rise. Let's look at an example of recent forest loss. First, I'm going to exit out of the analysis and turn off the current data layers. Next, I'm going to go to the forest change menu and turn on GLAD alerts. GLAD alerts are just one of several deforestation alerting systems we have on Global Forest Watch, but these are the highest resolution, so we prefer to use these. Like tree cover loss, GLAD alerts may be triggered by natural or human causes and detect changes in natural and planted forest. Again, all of this information is available in the information window. By toggling confirmed alerts, show only confirmed alerts, we reduce the likelihood of false positives, since these are alerts that have been detected by a satellite more than once. Next, I'm going to zoom into a specific area in Laredo. It may take me just a moment. Let's zoom into this area in Ucayali, where the Peruvian agency OCEAN4 detected illegal logging roads. Why do we care about these roads? Well, if we turn on the primary forest layer, which I'll do in a moment, we can see they cut through pristine forest. I'll go ahead and turn this back off. But if you were to reorder the layers, you would see the GLAD alerts cutting through the primary forest layer. Next, let's see if the roads are in a protected area. In the land use data section, I'm going to see if there's a protected area data for this part of Peru. This option exists in each data layer category, or I can search for Peru or protected areas in the search section. Now I'll turn on protected areas and see what happens. So this road snakes through the buffer zone of a protected area, which in the case of Peru indicates illegal clearing. Let's see when these GLAD alerts appeared most recently by dragging the date selector. I'll go back to the legend. You can also use the calendar to select dates, and you can use the play button to see an animation over time, which I'll do now. So first I'm going to drag the date selector back a little bit to kind of see the progression of the road over time. I'll drag it forward to capture the full dates, and then I'll press the play button. You can kind of watch the road appear over time. Now, if I'm the agency responsible for managing this tract of forest, I might want additional evidence that clearing occurred. In a moment, to do that, I'll use recent satellite imagery so that I can find a recent image of the area to see the roads. And now that the road is fully formed, I'll go ahead and click on Recent Satellite Imagery. This feature allows you to peruse Sentinel-2 and Landsat 8 imagery within a specified date range and acceptable cloud coverage percentage. So I'm going to go ahead and change the dates a little bit. I can change the acquisition date. And then I can adjust the cloud percentage downwards to filter out images with higher cloud coverage. I'll scroll down to find the oldest image. So as you can see, when I adjust the opacity on this layer and zoom in, I can see behind the pixels at a previous date, in June of 2018, you can see the road is there. But when I adjust back to 2018 and rewind a year for an even older image, maybe I might need an older one. I see a vegetation health mention. I'm going to go ahead and stick to recent satellite imagery now, but I do want to show you that yes, you can change here to vegetation health to see kind of the same information, but reflected in a different format. I'm going to go back to an even earlier image in 2016. Looks like I'll need to keep going back, and you can see it kind of disappearing over time. Now, if you care more about resolution than the ability to view specific dates, you can use imagery from Planet. In the most recent monthly base map, we can see the road even more clearly. And if we look at imagery from 2017, we clearly see there was no road at the time. So I'll go ahead and show you that. These quarterly base maps generally have more cloud-free images, but less temporal precision than the monthly base maps. I'm going to go ahead and try one more time to go back and find an image before this, and then we'll go ahead and move on. This is a better image that kind of shows before the road came. Now, let's say I'm responsible for this area and want to know if these roads are expanding. I have a few options. From the Analysis tab, I can see that I can click and subscribe to a shape on the map, like this area. And I want to note really quickly, exit out of recent satellite imagery, that for this analysis, I do have the ability to analyze with different boundaries like ecoregions or watersheds as well. And I'm going to change back to the default base map. So as you'll see, I have the ability to look at more subnational regions in analysis as well. I can also analyze other shapes like protected areas. So let's turn the Peru protected areas back on. I'll go ahead and search for protected areas. I'll click on this area to analyze. And then I do want to point out that there is a subscribe button. You'll notice that something just came up that's actually really useful. Sometimes analyses for large areas can't load. And in that case, since this is a very large area, I might prefer to draw or upload my own shape. I'm going to draw a shape. I'll exit out of this analysis. And I'll click draw or upload a shape. I'm going to move around. To start drawing, I'll go ahead and click on Start Drawing, and then click on the map where I want to draw. And I Just want to note that if an analysis fails, it might be just because the area is too large or complex. You can try refreshing, but if that doesn't work, maybe make your shape smaller or simplify it. Make sure to read the parameters in the info window, which I'll show you in a second, on uploading a file, if that's what you choose. I'm going to go ahead and draw once more. I'm going to go ahead and turn off a layer. And I may need to make my shape even smaller. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and show you one more thing with just Ucayali. You have the option to subscribe to an area so that you can be notified when new GLAD alerts appear in this specific area. So the analysis function wasn't working at this time. If I came back later, it might. But I do have the ability to subscribe. Just want to walk you through that really quick. You have other alerts available to you, like tree cover loss and fire alerts. You can name this specific area so that you can go back to it later. This is all accessible once you subscribe in your My GFW account. Once you save, you will need to confirm your subscription. I can go ahead and return to the map now. Finally, I might want to download GLAD alerts in this area. For a smaller shape, this would work much better, but again, since we're just having to analyze a larger area, that's probably why I can't download it at this time. I can also share this area with others or embed it in a blog. This is the share button. Before I share, I might want to, however, customize a few things. Often for effect, you can change the base map to a dark base map. You can also turn off labels. Let's take a quick look at another location, Sumatra in Indonesia. I'll go to the search button. You may have heard about fires being a major issue in Indonesia in the past few years. They're particularly problematic when they burn on peat, since the fires can smolder for years, releasing carbon emissions and air pollution. Now that I'm in Indonesia, I want to go ahead and search for fire. Here I can see fire alerts, also available in the forest change menu, up to the past week, which I can see in the legend. I also want to search for peat. And turn on Indonesia peatlands. Finally, I want to view oil palm concessions, accessed from the land use menu, as well as the search function. Now we can quickly see where active fires are burning. If I change to include the past week, not just the past 24 hours. And you can see these fires that may be particularly worrisome and possibly illegal. It's illegal to clear land with fire in Indonesia. So here we have a fire. Once again, I can click on an area to analyze and subscribe to it, as well as download data for the area and share. Before we wrap up, A couple other things to mention. If you're not sure where to start on the map, you can check out the Explore section, which provides links to curated data sets for different themes. Places to watch includes GLAD alerts in intact forests and protected areas with details about what's happening in that area, and forest-related stories from journalists around the world. If you get stuck, remember to access the help materials at the bottom right of the map with the question mark icon. We'll also show prompts when new features are available. And if you select Show Me Tips, those prompts will appear to you as you move through the map. Be sure to sign up for our newsletter at the bottom of our homepage to hear more about important dates and releases. We're also looking for feedback and new volunteers to help test new features. You can contact us at globalforestwatch.org, at globalforestwatch@wri.org at this email address on the screen, gfw@wri.org. If you have any questions or suggestions or would like to participate in future usability tests to help inform the direction of Global Forest Watch. Thank you for your time, and I'll hand it back to Alice.
All right, thank you, Teresa, and thank you everyone for joining us. We'll now transition to a Q&A. If you have any questions, please type them into the Q&A section. We'll pause shortly as questions accumulate. Thank you everyone for your questions. We'll now get started. So the first question is, will GLAD alerts ever be available for North America? And I'll have Kai take that question.
Hello. So currently we do have pan-tropical GLAD alerts, but we are planning on expanding them to the more extreme latitudes. We don't have an estimated time frame for this, but UMD is currently working on this project.
All right, so the next question is, are some or all the layers available via API to add to other applications? I'll also point this one to Kai.
Yes, some layers are available. You would have to have a specific layers in mind and then check to see using our open data portal or using the metadata if they're available for applications in API. You would have to note that some of the data sets are restricted by the data providers given the certain restrictions that they've placed on the data set themselves.
All right, so the next question is, are Planet Daily images in the works?
We do not currently plan on adding daily planet imagery to our platform, but we do have monthly and quarterly planet imagery currently.
All right, thanks, Kai. So I'll now point this question to Teresa. Is there a function to download data in bulk to a spreadsheet, for example, annual tree cover loss at a country level?
Yes, there is. So earlier we mentioned the dashboards, which are another tool that you can access from the map or from the Global Forest Watch site. We just got a new question. We'll field that in just a second, but I do want to show really quickly how to download data from the dashboards. So if you'll humor me for a moment. So I'm going to go back to the Global Forest Watch site. And if I click on the top left icon for Global Forest Watch, I can then go to the dashboard. And this is kind of sidestepping from the map, but you do have the ability to here select a country, say Albania. And then at the top right, there's a little download button where you can download the data for this specific country, if that answers your question. And we can go to the next question, I think.
All right, everyone. So the next question is, do you have any additional location data sets for natural rubber production and processing similar to palm oil, such as the global list of processing mills? And I'll point this question to Kai.
Hi, so we do currently have information on rubber plantations for Liberia specifically, and it'd be under the agricultural concessions data set on our map. Additionally, our global plantations data set does include information regarding rubber plantations. You would have to look at your area of interest and navigate through that global plantations layer to see which specific plantations are rubber related.
All right, thanks, Kai. So the next question is, where can one know the data availability, whether the data is present during a certain period? Is it when we click on the variable? And I'll point that one to Teresa.
That's a fantastic question. So different data sets do cover different time periods, and you can see all of that information about the specific methodology and time period of a data set through the map. If you click on the little I button, the information button that we looked at earlier. I can go ahead and show that super quick. So on the map, when you click on the I button, you can see the layer info. And that will show, for example, with tree cover gain, it goes from 2001 to 2012 for 12 years. And then for things like tree cover loss, those are updated annually. So whenever you're curious about a specific data set, you can go to any time you see the I button, you can just go there and it will help you out. And I think we can go to next questions. Here we are.
All right, so the next question is it possible to generate something like a report PDF that summarizes findings such as forest loss, land type, results from analyzing for a certain polygon uploaded? Teresa, do you want to take that question?
Let me go ahead and read it again just so I can. For a certain polygon uploaded.
Teresa, I can answer that. This is Alyssa, everybody. So we actually have something in the works for the end of the calendar year where you'll be able to view a dashboard similar to what Teresa was just showing, where you can download the stats for a country. So that will be available for any area of interest that you specify, whether it's an uploaded area or an area you draw in the shape. And then we are also aware that many people want to be able to download views of the map or dashboards into a PDF format. So we'll make sure to make that functionality available as well. But right now, the most that you can get for a custom area is the analyses that you saw on the map. And there's no way to export to a PDF. You would just have to take a screenshot and then copy and paste it into a document or a presentation.
Thanks, Alyssa.
Okay, thank you, Alyssa. So Alyssa is our platform manager here at Global Forest Watch. All right, so the next question is, are there suggestions for those of us who live in countries where there's a real lack of data, such as Guinea or West Africa? So I'll point that question to Kai.
Hi, I would recommend that you look at our forest atlases. We have them available for several sub-Saharan and West African countries. One thing that you can do, I believe there is a link on our Global Forest Watch website that will help you locate these forest atlases. We can also provide a link to these in a follow-up.
Yeah, if you're curious about anything that we're saying, the email address on the screen is perfect for you to contact. If you have any questions, concerns, anything at all.
And let me be more specific about what countries we have forest atlases for. We have Cameroon, Central African Republic, Republic of Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Liberia, and Madagascar for Africa specifically. And we also have Georgia for the Caucasus region.
All right, thanks, Kai.
So we've got a couple questions coming up about Forest Watcher, which is another product that Global Forest Watch, well, maybe not Global, the Forest program at WRI offers. Forest Watcher is a mobile app that allows you to access data about forest loss offline using just your smartphone. It's a fantastic tool and is really great for areas in which sometimes there may not be reliable internet, and for reporting purposes in the field. So there was a question about drawing a map to carry out monitoring using Forest Watcher. Go ahead and, if you will, I'd love to point you to the right person. If you email gfw@wri.org, the email address on the screen, we can point you to a better resource to answer questions about Forest Watcher. This also applies to the question, is there a mobile app for collaborating offline? It's a great question, same answer. Alyssa just provided a link to the Forest Watcher site in the chat. Feel free to access it there and email us if you have any questions.
All right, so the next question is, are there any plans to annotate and share map views?
We did point out earlier on the map tutorial about how to share your view on the map. Should I go ahead and show that? So on the map, I'll just go ahead and show you one more time. On the map, you'll be able to see whenever you analyze something, or anytime at the bottom right, you have the ability to share exactly what you're seeing with other people who you think may want to see it. In terms of annotation, the two options we have right now are a link, which you can copy and paste into an email or a message, or even a website, and then you have the ability to embed, which is just like copying and pasting code into a site so that viewers can see the map within your blog, within your site, etc. We also have Twitter and Facebook. So whenever you share, you do have the ability to add your own notes. But I hope that answers the question. If it doesn't, feel free to comment again. We had a question also about base layers. I think we're a little unclear as to how we can help you. If you can go ahead and clarify your question, we'll get to it right away.
All right, so the next question is, do you have any information on villaged forest reserves in East Africa, particularly in Tanzania? Kai, do you want to take that question?
Hello, I don't believe we have specific information on village forest reserves. I would recommend that you look at our protected areas layer though. It's available in our land use category on the map. This will highlight areas that are reserved for government use, such as wildlife preserves. I would also recommend that you look at our landmark data. This data will specifically show you areas that are set aside for indigenous populations, as well as preserves that are owned by certain populations in that region.
Thanks, Kai. All right, so the next question is there any way of assessing the nature of forest cover increase, such as distinguishing between secondary forest growth, agroforestry, and tree plantations?
Yes. So to answer that question, we provide a lot of contextual layers on our map. Sorry we weren't able to go over every single one of those, but I would recommend when you go through the map to look at the primary forest layer, which was just updated this year, as well as our plantations layer, which we talked about earlier. These layers will help you interface with that loss data set, as well as the gain and glad alert data set to help you understand more of the precise dynamics going on the ground.
Thank you, Kai. All right, so the next question is, what is the temporality of the data on forest gain and loss?
Okay, so if I understand this question correctly, are you asking the update schedule of both of these data sets? If so, I can tell you that our global forest loss data set is updated yearly. And our forest gain data set, though it hasn't been updated in the past couple of years, we are currently working on some updated gain data that is anticipated for 2020 and 2021.
All right, and this transitions well to the next question, which is, will there be data on forest gain from the years 2012 to 2017 in any update?
And yes, this is what I just touched upon. So Global Forest Watch is currently working with UMD to produce a comprehensive forest gain layer between the years of 2001 and hopefully 2018. We are planning on releasing this data set, or at least a prototype of this data set, at the end of this year. However, a more comprehensive data set is anticipated for 2020 and 2021.
All right, thanks, Kai. And it looks like the person who asked about base layers has elaborated. They said that it was related to the access to the layer via API. Would it be possible to access certain base layers via the API, such as Planet or Sentinel Imagery?
So base layers are not available via the API. Like Planet actually has its own API, and the Sentinel imagery we get from Google Earth Engine, so that can be accessed there. And then the other base layers, we actually, we created them, so the whole map is based on Mapbox, and we created them custom in Mapbox, but I am almost 100% positive they're not saved into the API like other data layers, though I'm sure we could facilitate access to them if you needed them. So again, you just have to send an email to the email on the screen, and we could figure that out with you.
All right, so someone asked for more information about the updating of forest gain data. If you're able to, I would just email us here at gfw@wri.org. We can send you a lot more information about the gain data methodologies, etc. All right, so the next question is there a mechanism to incorporate country-specific data and use the platform to generate a country-specific product?
It's a fascinating question. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and show that on the map. This is a very good tool that we offer. For specific countries, we do have data available in the demonstration. You may have noticed that when we were in Indonesia looking at the fires there, I looked for peatland information, peatland data sets that was available just for Indonesia. And we have a lot of data sets that are similar to that for other countries. So when I'm back on the map and I open the menu here, at the top, you'll notice for really any of these categories, you have something called country-specific data. And you can click on that and add any of these countries. So for example, if I was interested in Honduras, there is a Honduras forest type, excuse me about that. There's a data set in land cover that's specific to Honduras. And when I go down to the country itself, I'll be able to see that if I close other layers. And then I can also see, so that's a land cover data set, but you'll notice that if I go back to forest change, Honduras is still selected and there's no data sets available there. So anytime you're interested in country specific data, you can just go through the categories and look around for what's available. You can also, when you search for a country, you can, when I type in Indonesia, data sets specific to Indonesia show up. So that can be a really helpful tool. We can go ahead and field a couple more questions. I really hope that answers.
Teresa, I have one more thing to add to that. We also have a tool called, so we talked about the forest atlases earlier. We have a tool called Map Builder. It's built on Esri's ArcGIS Online, and it lets anybody, you can even create your own free ArcGIS Online account, build a website that functions and looks a lot like Global Forest Watch, but it can be for whatever area you choose. So whether it's like an individual protected area or a particular country or even a subnational area. And then you can select which data sets from Global Forest Watch you want to include, and also include your own data sets that may or may not be available on Global Forest Watch. So this is the tool that the forest atlases were built on, and a lot of other people around the world have used it to create their own online interactive maps with analysis that look like Global Forest Watch. So definitely check that out.
Thank you, Alyssa. So we'll now move on to the next question, which is how do you help local communities to access data, especially in remote rural areas?
That's a great question. Off the top of my head, I would say that a really great resource for that need would be Forest Watcher. And again, I think the link was provided to that in the answered questions category. But you can also, please, if you're interested in accessing data in a remote area, please send us an email at gfw@wri.org, the email address on the screen, and we can kind of talk about what exactly you're wanting to do and then point you to whatever resource might be tailored to fit your needs.
Thank you, Teresa. So we have one more question about FTP data downloads. If you could please elaborate on what you're asking, we'd be happy to help you. And if it's easier, you can also shoot us an email and we can get back to you that way. All right, so the next question is, how accurate is GFW data? Kai, do you want to take that question?
Yes, so one way that you can find out about the different accuracies of our data is actually also clicking that info button on the side of the different data sets. This will kind of tell you some of the known cautions and some of the known issues in some of the data sets. No data is perfect, and we always try to be transparent about what issues may occur in the data sets that we provide.
All right, thanks, Kai. So we'll just take the last question, which is how can you access shapefiles of biomass, gain, loss, net, etc.?
So I will point you to our data portal, which is data.globalforestwatch.org. You can access our open data platform this way and then search for the data sets that you need. We allow data downloads in a variety of different formats, including shapefile, which you specifically requested. If you're having trouble downloading any specific data set via our open data portal, I would encourage you to email us. We're happy to also provide data sets over email if there is an issue with our open data portal.
All right, thank you, Kai. And thanks again to everyone for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day. If you have any more questions or feedback, we'd love to hear it. And we can hear it if you email gfw@wri.org. That's on the screen. All right, have a great day or night, depending on your time zone. Thank you.